Hola, yo soy Carlos.
Y yo, Miguel.
Welcome to Puente Bridge.
Stories that connect us. Hola, this is Puente Bridge, and we are celebrating Latin America in the UK. My name is Miguel Hernando Torres Umba. Bienvenidos. Our guest of today is a dream maker, a woman with a tremendous capacity to transform ideas into reality, a creative producer with the power, determination, and wit to take the wildest creative thoughts and transform them into matter. Her prolific work has taken her literally around the globe, and she has worked with some of the most prominent theatre and circus companies in the world, including the Globe Theatre and Cirque du Soleil. Her name is Malú Ansaldo, and she comes from the south of America, Argentina. Today's episode was recorded at the Battersea Arts Centre. This iconic theatre and cultural space in South London is home to artists and communities who find in this unique hub the tools, space, and time to take creative risks and develop ideas that can inspire locally, nationally, and globally. To the team of the BAC, thank you for allowing the Latin spirit to flow through their space. So, without further ado, here it is, our interview with Malú Ansaldo. Welcome back to Puente Bridge. Now, imagine this, taking the most famous theatre play by the most famous theatre playwright of all times to every single country around the world. It's only a feat that the Globe Theatre of London could achieve using the most skilled artists and producers in the world. Now, among that group of producers, we had a Latin American producer who is with us here today. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Malú Ansaldo, and I am a creative producer in London from Argentina.
Thank you for being with us here today. And so we just spoke about this epic thing that we just did. Would you tell us a little bit more about what this was?
Yes, so we're talking about the Globe to Globe Hamlet World Tour.
Thank you.
That happened between 2014 and 2016 to celebrate the two big Shakespeare anniversaries, the 450th anniversary of Shakespeare's birth and the 400th anniversary of his death.
And what was your role in it?
I was one of the two producers of the tour.
Wait a minute. So you were in charge of making the whole thing happen?
Yeah, I mean, we were a team working within the Globe Theatre, but specifically working on this project. There were two producers and then like a team of like marketing and assistants and yeah.
So has this happened before? Has any other company taken a theatre show to every single country in the world?
No, in fact, not a lot of people had done anything in every single country. Literally, like every time you hear something is like a world tour, they just go to like a few places around the world, not always even taking all the continents. But we had a very clear kind of understanding of what we wanted to achieve. It was literally the whole world. So we went with what the United Nations acknowledges as the list of countries, and that is 197 countries. And our artistic director at the moment had a very specific idea that we were going to either go to all of them or none of them.
That's fair, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think it was actually one of the most democratic things that you can do ever. The interesting thing was also that obviously a lot of countries are inaccessible due to like war or other things. But we believe that the countries are beyond the geography, they are the people. So we played for displaced communities in refugee camps. So there's countries that we played for outside of the geography of the country.
But still for the country.
Well, we played for people from those places, amazing. Yes.
So it was a very emotional journey.
It was incredible.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you feel very proud about this?
I am
This is one
so
of your
proud.
biggest...
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
It's my biggest achievement, I'd say.
So obviously we're doing Puente Bridge to celebrate us, and exactly this, the work that you've done, and it'd be good for our audience to understand a little bit more what it takes to get to that role. I mean, it's so specific. It's taking, it's globe to globe. It doesn't happen every year.
No.
It hasn't ever happened again. So what it takes to be in that team to make that happen. Why Malú? What happened? Why did they go?
How did I get there?
Yeah, how did you get into that place to make that happen?
Wow.
Do we have to trace it back a little bit further?
I mean, we can trace it back. Yeah, we can definitely trace it back. And it's funny though, because actually my parents did work a lot internationally, moving people and groups around. So then it kind of makes sense that I ended up doing a similar thing if you think about it that way. But this specific project comes on the back of another project that we did in 2012 at the Globe to celebrate the Cultural Olympiad. There was a World Shakespeare Festival happening in London, and every organization was doing some sort of like Shakespeare-related international celebration. And again, at the Globe, our boss was very global in his mind and ambitious. So he said, well, we're not going to do like one or two plays with different groups. We're just going to do all of them. So we did the complete works of William Shakespeare, and each play was done by a different company from a different country in their own language. So we had, 37 companies from all around the world coming to play on the Globe stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to understand a bit more what your role entails. What does it mean to be a producer? And what does it mean to be a creative producer?
If you want to put it in simple words, you work with a director that has a vision, and you need to make that vision a reality. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, someone has a dream and you're the dream maker.
You're the dream maker. You put all the cogs in one place to make it happen.
I think that's kind of like a nice way of putting it. But it's, I like to think of producers as creatives as well, because, I mean, you get to be very creative in how you do things, and you work with artists all the time. We had to find a lot of very creative solutions with all of these big international projects that we're talking about. So that's kind of what a producer does. Mm-hmm. And then in more practical terms, we manage the resources and we allocate them. Sometimes they're money, sometimes the resources are not money.
Right.
So yeah, it's not all about the money.
And were you always good at doing this type of things, like even from a young age? Were you always good at making things happen?
I think so. I mean, I started working when I was very young. My brother had a series of bars and nightclubs when I was a teenager, and I started working with him when I was like, probably illegal for me to be working at that age. But it was fun, and we could put on like really cool nights, and I kind of always had like this understanding of audience and the other, that people come to experience something. And then in university, I studied theater and I used to write and perform myself. And then when I had my first theater company, I was organically became the producer of that company. And my colleague was kind of more the director of the shows. And ages ago, I worked for the National Theater Institute in Argentina doing an audience development program in Patagonia, like in the end of the world. And it was amazing because I really got like a very good sense of like what it means for people to be experiencing a story and narrative, and who has access and who doesn't, and who believes that they have access to the arts and who believes that they don't, and how you can challenge those notions. And that kind of, has been with me ever since.
And when is the step from Argentina to the UK? Because you're producing there, you seem to be doing a lot of great things in Patagonia and in Argentina and Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
What takes you to the UK?
So after I lived in Patagonia, I moved back to a city in Buenos Aires, and I was working in the festival circuit. And in the International Theater Festival, I was working in part of a team that were looking after all the international programmers and promoters that were coming. And in that festival, I met the director and the producer of the Norfolk and Norwich Festival, and they invited me to come and join their team and work with them. And that's how I came the first time to be like an assistant producer in their team. And then the following year, they moved to Australia, so they left me the job of producer in that festival.
What was the name of the festival?
Norfolk and Norwich Festival is still going on. It's a very well-established historic festival, actually, in the UK. Yeah.
And then from then you come straight to the Globe.
Yeah. So from there I came to London to the Globe. Yeah.
Oh wow. And then so that was a few years ago now.
Yeah, that's 10 years ago now.
And what have you been doing in between?
Well, I've been doing quite a lot. So between the two big Globe international projects, I worked for an outdoor theatre festival called Greenwich and Docklands for 1 year. Then I worked as a consultant for a few venues around the world, programming with them. And then I went on the road with Cirque du Soleil for 1 year as well, with one of their big tops. I worked in Wales for the National Theatre of Wales for 1 year, and then I worked at the Roundhouse here in London for 2 years. And now we're at Battersea Arts Centre, where I'm working now.
We're at the Battersea Arts Centre. I didn't mention that at the beginning, but yes, we've been able to be here today thanks to you.
Yes.
It's your home now.
It's my new home, and it's really exciting because obviously the world is in lockdown, and this is one of the only venues in the UK still putting on shows and performances. And tonight we have our first live streamed show.
It's the first time it's happening from the Battersea Arts Centre. And how is that going?
Well, I mean, we're in the tech part of it now, but we hope it's going to go great.
We're doing this interview.
Yeah.
Was this one of your initiatives?
Well, I mean, obviously, I work with an artistic director here and with a big team of producers, and it's kind of like a shared programming. But one of the people doing the live stream actually is also Latin American from Colombia. And I brought him in to do this live stream with us. And I'm very excited, yeah.
Who is he?
John Castrillon from C3 Productions, yes, who actually, he's also been living here for a very long time. And we met working in Norwich when I first came to the UK. And since then, he's been doing production management and technical stuff for all of my projects.
So the Latin Americans are taking over the PAC.
A little bit.
So is that what happens? Wherever you go, do you start bringing your troop of Latin American people with you?
I mean, it's not that you bring people directly, because obviously one of the nice things about the UK is that opportunities have to be shared and open and transparent. But I think that when you have a diverse voice working in a team or programming, for example, having this different perspective will open new opportunities. So yes, I am more inclined to try to give opportunities to diverse people and migrants as well in the work that I do.
What you're saying, yes, it's definitely true. And I've also experienced it myself, having opportunities and my skills opening those spaces. And I sometimes see that there is not that many of us Latin American in these big cultural institutions. So how do you think that can be improved? How have you done it so that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a big movement with migrants in culture in general. But if we're looking specifically at Latin Americans, you're right. There's not a lot of Latin Americans in positions of power in theater or in the performing arts. I would say in other aspects of the creative industries, yes, like in advertising or in fashion. Maybe there's more Latin Americans that are like bigger names, more recognizable, but definitely no, there's not a lot of us. So I feel like we do really try to amplify each other and support each other and help each other, but we do it, acknowledging that we have to do it in a non-tokenistic way, and not just because we're Latinos, but also because we're great creatives.
Mm-hmm. And have you encountered great creatives in your journey here?
I mean, I'm sitting in front of one.
Cut that, please.
Yeah, but no, yeah, definitely. I think there's amazing talent in the Latin American community. And if anything, we're very resilient. I think a lot of us come from places where, not always you can tell the story that you want to tell. Sometimes voices are censored in Latin America. Not everyone gets the same opportunities. There's a lot of corruption. So the fact that we're all here is because we're trying to look for something else. Yeah, there's a sense of solidarity, and and it's a nice thing, for sure.
I'm gonna go a bit sideways for a moment. And so you're a very busy person, and I've always seen that in you. And I'm always making stuff happen and opening doors and creating great spaces for you and for those around you.
Thanks.
How do you keep yourself sane? What do you do?
My secret.
Yes, what's your secret for your youth and beauty?
The secret to success is water.
Water.
I'm a swimmer. So it's the only thing that actually keeps me sane. And I went a little bit crazy over a lockdown because all the swimming pools were closed. And I was training for a race actually, so I had to stop swimming, and that was a bit complicated. But no, swimming has always been my passion. I love swimming. I love the outdoors. Like I said, I lived in Patagonia. I used to go hiking a lot and swimming in the lakes and skiing. And I mean, it's a bit crazy because, we live in one of the biggest cities in the world. But the good thing about London and about the UK is that it's not such a big place if you compare it to the places where we come from. So you can just like jump in a train and be outside in the countryside or next to the sea in like a few minutes. Well, not a few minutes, but like half an hour. Yeah, so I swim. I live in East London. I've always lived close to the Lido in London Fields, which is the only, and listen to this, the only 50-meter outdoor heated pool in London. And, as a Latina, I get cold in the winter. So I like swimming in a heated pool. And I also swim in the Olympic pool.
As a Latina, you live in London. What do you feel you are? Are you Latina? Are you a Londoner? How would you define yourself if you had to?
I'm both.
Are you?
I think we can be more than one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Argentinian, but I'm an Argentinian from an Italian family, so I feel very Italian. And then I'm a Londoner for sure. Like, I feel like a Londoner. I love London because it's multicultural and we have, those layers. Yeah, and I'm definitely Latina.
When did you learn you were Latina?
When I left Argentina. Yeah, for sure. I think, Latin America is huge and all our countries have very different realities. And also like what people expect a Latina, especially like a Latin woman to be. I mean, I wish I looked like J-Lo, but I don't,
But you got the sass.
I mean, I got it. I got a little bit of it. But like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I go like, yeah, I'm Latin American. And they're like, oh, really? Like, and I'm like, yeah, what did you expect me to look like? Because we're all different. It's a very diverse part of the world. And Argentina, it is the end of the world. And a little bit, we are kind of cornered down there. Also, it's a country that looks at Europe all the time. There's a strong European migration that make the country, in my family, everyone comes from like a European family. So there's always like that sense of looking to Europe more than looking inland. And yeah, moving to London really helped me see that in a different way and generated a new sense of identity, which I'm very glad it happened because I feel like it made me a better person also.
You've learned a lot through becoming a Latina.
For sure.
Yeah. And are you connected to the community?
Yes, very much.
What has your role been, or how have you helped the community?
I mean, I think that has been changing since I moved to London. I've been like on and off supporting the Latin Theatre Festival in different ways, and then thanks to you, Miguel, and other friends, we have this incredible thing called LIPA, where we kind of articulate all the Latin Americans working in the performing arts, and that's been amazing. And I feel like we've achieved quite a lot in the last 2 years. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a major achievement, I think, recently, but I think I'm going to let you tell us about this.
Well,
what did we do? Let's tell those who are listening to us.
I mean, we did it together, Mia. Come on.
I think the whole community has managed to do
Yes. So we got commitment from the Arts Council in England to include Latin American box in their diversity forms. Which for me, since the beginning, I was always very vocal that this is the main thing that can action a difference for us, because as a community, we were kind of invisible. And so without data, we can't really fight our corner if we can't prove things. Mm-hmm. So we need some numbers to prove things. And hopefully that's going to help us achieve that. So, yeah.
So 2 weeks ago on our 2 episodes, previous episodes, we had Lucila Granada.
Yeah.
Obviously, she and all the people have been campaigning with CLAUC for the same reason. What's the difference between what they've done and what has happened with the Arts Council?
I think CLAUC, which is a coalition of Latin American organizations, is an amazing thing. And Lucila is like incredible. I think they got this box at a borough level in different boroughs. And because we operate in the cultural sector, the fact that we got it in the Arts Council means that all the organizations across England that are funded by the Arts Council are going to have to gather data about our community as part of their funding conditions. So this is going to have an impact directly into the arts world. And I think, the more the merrier. We should be tackling this everywhere. Ideally, it should come from the census, but the census is not accepting this box. So what we're doing is kind of like
starting to
taking over everywhere. Little by little, yeah.
Yeah, and the companies we work for, even before the Arts Council, start to put the box and start to kind of mention.
Yeah, I think all of us working in different organizations got our companies to have the box. And so that's really nice when I hear people going for interviews and finding that there's a box there, because it means that someone's campaigned for it and made it happen. And sometimes, you'll never know who made it happen, but they're like, the silent heroes.
There we go. That's silent. There's a lot of them everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask about, what do you think the Latin American community bring to this country and to this culture where we live?
I mean, we could be specific about the Latin American community, but I think because of the times in which we're living, we should be more open with this question and just talk about what do we think migrants bring to the country. And I think we bring loads of things, a diverse vision of the world, diverse stories. We bring our skills and our education and our understanding of the world and our ways and views on how things can be achieved and done. Also, we definitely bring warmth and camaraderie and spice and color. But yeah, I think it is important to acknowledge that the Latin American community is living in the UK alongside a lot of other migrant communities. And we're all different, but we're all as important, and we're all part of making this place what it is. So yeah, I think, valuing the differences and championing them across the board is what we should all be trying to do with our work.
If we want to encourage artists and other migrants, not only Latin Americans, but migrants to kind of be more part and kind of to be seen more, what would your advice be? I
mean, at the moment, there's a few interesting movements. I've just come from the Migrants in Theatre Town Hall that happened today the first time. There's a Migrants in Culture movement as well. There's another organization called Migrants Organize, which is really active. I think, find, even if it's hard to find the people that you think have a platform that you feel that you can approach. I get a lot of emails or messages from other Latin Americans, and I always try to support them or help them or give them some time or at least have a chat. And I think people will be open if you reach out, because we've all been through that too, because we at some point were always new here.
What's next for you? What's your next big dream?
Next big dream is so hard, because it feels like we're all having to reimagine our dreams, which is weird, or develop new dreams. I wish that now we can turn this very challenging time into an opportunity to regenerate and recreate the sector in a healthy but also kinder way for everyone. And hopefully there's loads of the diverse voices in that reshaping of the sector.
We were just about the lockdown. We were just having a great moment, Latin American artists were, and we were in different theaters. There was so much stuff happening. You were leading the Roundhouse. There was a great season that you had programmed, and then lockdown took us, and we were just gearing up. Do you think as soon as it opens, we're gonna be right there, or do you think this is gonna have a big impact on many of us?
I hope not. I think whenever things reopen, if things are to reopen, or things might change and open in different ways, or other things might open, I hope that all the work that we're doing now during this period of lockdown that is helping us reflect a lot, hopefully it'll have an impact on how we reopen. I think all of those great artists are still working. I mean, and they're still doing things. Definitely more venues and more organizations are realizing that they need to change the way in which they operate and which voices they champion and who gets to choose. We're seeing more and more artistic directors stepping down, making space. And so I think it will be an exciting time, and it's interesting to be a part of it, of this reimagining and reconstructing a whole new ecology of what we do. You know, if
just keeping the vision open, just keep imagining a new reimagining.
Yes, I think we're not going to lose what we had gained. Like we're not going to lose the traction that we had.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the case that it's not about putting plays on. It might be something else that we're doing. But definitely the Latin American voices have like a new weight now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. So we're about to close, but before we finish our interview, we want a little bit of a story from you.
Yeah.
Trace back to that globe to globe epic moment and what happened when it reached show number 100.
Show number 100 was very important for me.
Yes.
Because it's the one where my mom and dad came. We were in Argentina. We were in Buenos Aires, where I'm from. And we played at the Teatro San Martín. And yeah, I was very proud of it because it was the 100th performance, and my parents were there, my brother was there, and a lot of my friends were there. And it was the first ever time that the Globe Theatre was playing in Argentina. And, you know, it was epic.
What an epic thing.
Yeah.
And you made it happen. And I
made it happen.
Home.
Yeah. And also it was funny because I didn't quite plan it to be like, okay, on the 100th performance, we're going to be there. It just happened. But it was really amazing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Malú. I want to use this moment to thank you also for your work and your inspiration, and for having the tenacity to keep pushing, to keep dreaming, and the confidence also to make these things happen. It's really inspiring for me, and I know for many people, to see fellow Latin Americans and people making things happen in such great spaces like the Battersea Arts Centre, like Cirque du Soleil, or like the Globe Theatre. And it's, you know, you've been making it happen. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And that was our interview with Malú Ansaldo. For us, it has been extremely inspiring to talk to her and see the impact of her work, not only with prestigious companies, but also in society and the communities she engages with. If you want to learn more about the reach of Malú's work, go to the Globe Theatre's website and check out the detailed summary of the Globe to Globe tour. And also head over to the Battersea Arts Centre's website and follow the rich digital program that Malú has been curating for you. If you like what you hear, please help us by sharing this episode with your friends. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Let us know your thoughts, ideas and recommendations. And remember, this interview is also available in Spanish and is presented by my colleague Carlos Osa Valencia. We want to thank Clauc, Latin Elephant, Latin American House, Irmo and Lours for helping this podcast reach many people. And also to Lyrics Organics and Active Citizens by the British Council for their encouragement and support. Puente Bridge is produced by Umba, Film and Media, created by Carlos Osa Valencia and Miguel Hernando Torres Umba. Sammy Fiorino is our associate producer. Nelson Cruz, our community manager. The graphic design is by Fabian De Asa, and the music is licensed by Artlist. My name is Miguel Hernando Torres Umba, and I'll catch you next week for another episode of Puente Bridge Podcast. Stay tuned.